In August 1971, the world changed while everyone was sleeping. Before that date, if you walked into a bank with a $20 bill, that paper represented a claim on a physical ounce of gold. It was a hard asset system. But President Richard Nixon, facing a massive depletion of U.S. gold reserves which had dropped from 20,000 tons to just 8,000 tons, made a secret decision at Camp David. He temporarily suspended the gold standard. That temporary move has now lasted over 50 years. What happened next is what economists call the Great Decoupling. If you look at the data from WTF happened in 1971, you'll see that for the first time in history, productivity continued to rise, but wages for the middle class stayed flat. Why? Because the money itself was no longer a store of value. It became a tool of debt. Today, your savings account is essentially a melting ice cube. If you have $10,000 in a 0.01% savings account while inflation is at 5%, you are losing $500 of purchasing power every single year. To understand why the rich get richer during a crisis, we have to look back to 1755. Richard Cantillon, an Irish-French banker, noticed something profound. New money doesn't enter the economy evenly. Imagine a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples are strongest at the center. When a central bank prints money, they don't mail it to you. They inject it into the primary dealers, the big banks and hedge funds. This is the Cantillon Effect. These institutions get the money first, while prices are still low. They use that fresh capital to buy up real estate, stocks, and assets. By the time that money trickles down to your paycheck, prices have already inflated. You are at the edge of the pond where the ripples are weak, but the water level, the cost of living, has already risen. This is the silent thief. It's a structural transfer of wealth from the labor class to the asset-owning class, and it happens every time a new stimulus or bank bailout is announced. But the system doesn't just steal your money, it hijacks your brain. There is a psychological concept known as the pain of paying. Researchers at MIT discovered that when you pay with physical cash, the insula, the part of the brain associated with physical pain, actually lights up. It hurts to give away paper money. However, modern finance has engineered a neural bypass. When you use a credit card, or worse, buy now pay later apps, the insula stays quiet. Instead, the striatum, the brain's reward center, is triggered. The system has detached the joy of getting the product from the pain of losing the money. This is why the average American carries over $7,000 in credit card debt. You are fighting a war against 500 neuroscientists at Apple and Visa whose only job is to make sure you don't feel the wealth leaving your pocket. If you don't understand the psychology of the transaction, you will continue to spend your future wealth to fund your present ego. So, how do you fight back? You have to stop playing the game of labor and start playing the game of equity. In 2026, the middle-class earners who are becoming millionaires are using 3 specific hacks. First, the HSA retirement secret. If you have a high-deductible health plan, your HSA is actually the most powerful retirement account in existence, better than a 401k. It's triple tax advantaged. For savvy investors, pay for medical bills out of pocket today, save the receipts, and let the HSA money compound in the S&P 500 for 20 years. Then, they reimburse themselves tax-free decades later. Second, the raise rule. Every time you get a salary increase, immediately automate 50% of that raise into an index fund. If you get a 4% raise, live on 2% and invest the other 2%. You won't feel the pain because your lifestyle's still improved, but you've effectively doubled your wealth building speed. Third, pivot from linear income to asymmetric assets. Linear income is trading hours for dollars. Asymmetric assets are things that cost you time once but pay you forever, like a digital product, a YouTube channel, or automated stocks. You cannot save your way to wealth in a debt-based economy. You must own your way there. The middle class is being squeezed by a system that was redesigned in 1971 to favor the debtor over the saver. You can complain about the system, or you can learn the new rules. The wealth brain isn't about how much money you make. It's about how much of that money you protect from the silent thief. If you want to dive deeper into the research we mentioned, I've linked every study, from the IMF reports to the MIT brain scans, in the description below. Knowledge is the only asset that can't inflate away. Subscribe to build your brain. I'll see you in the next deep dive.